Okay, team, welcome to the Boulder Athlete Podcast. This is a special edition. We have been referring to this as the BLT podcast, the Boulder Leadership Team. And look, we almost didn't get a chance to make this thing happen. As you can see, Jason and Aaron are driving very safely, I can assure you. But we're forcing this thing in because there's some good conversation I think we can have as a group with a few goals for this one. One, Aaron and Adam, you guys are such a critical part of this team and the growth of Boulder and just getting Boulder to become Boulder. And very few people know who you are unless you've met you guys at a competition where you're just selflessly serving so many. We got a lot of people in the Boulder athlete community that haven't heard your story. And so one, that's part of the goal for today is just help people get to know this group with both of you included a little bit better. And then we want to share as Boulder Leadership Team some of the things that are top of mind for us. This is not an exhaustive list, but things that are just kind of bubbling to the surface and topical for the moment. And then we've got some questions that the Boulder athlete community had submitted in advance. Good questions. So we just wanted to address those, kind of make that part of our rhythm as well, where the community feels like they can throw stuff out to us and get a response. And yeah, so I'm excited about this. I hope it's the first of many. And thank you all for making time to come together. Okay, so to get this going, I want to start with a little bit of an intro. So Jason, six-time champ, you all know Jason quite well. We've had plenty of opportunities to introduce, but Jason is like the face of this and the workhorse behind Boulder Athlete. And I could go on and on about all of your accolades, Jason, and I know you certainly could as well. I'll spare you from that. Folks that have watched or followed this, have seen and heard from me as well. Adam and Aaron, I'd really like to spend more time with you guys' intro and just giving you an opportunity to share a little bit more about yourself. You both have some really interesting backgrounds and some things that you've been a part of and overcome. And I think it's important that this community just knows that. So Adam, why don't you get us kicked off a little bit with a bit of your intro, the role that you played in bringing Boulder to life, kind of where your areas of expertise lie, and take it from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Adam Aldridge. I'm in Birmingham, Alabama. Brought Jason to Birmingham and I've been there my whole life. Love it. It's just a great little kind of small area, small town, but close enough to big stuff. We always joke that we got beaches, mountains, pretty much everything's like 4 to 5 hours away from us. So it's great. So I grew up on a farm, just kind of a country boy. My background is I grew up again in a small rural area where there wasn't a lot of access to technology and things like that, but I always loved technology and taking things apart, and that led into a career in software engineering and software development. I won't go into too much background there, but in high school, I played all the sports. I played football, baseball, wrestling. Those were my go-tos. I'm short. I'm like 5'6" on a good day, so basketball was not in my wheelhouse. But wrestling worked out great for me. I loved that, but it was decent. Probably could have done some like low level. I don't know, maybe not quite D1 level, but I realized like in 11th, around 10th, 11th grade that like I was just really good at computers and software engineering, and the internet was coming around. So I just quit all my sports and dedicated all my time to learning software because I loved it. And we ended up going to UAB, getting a computer science degree there. My wife and I have been dating since we were 15. We are high school sweethearts, and it's just like one of those things where you met her and you knew she was the perfect one for you. And we started dating. We got married at 22, had our first son at 23. And the whole time I'm doing this, I'm working full time, going to school full time. We have a kid. It took me 7 years to get my 4-year degree because it just having to drag it out. But it's good. It got it done. Worked hard. A lot of long hours there. But that led into my ability to only need like 4 hours of sleep a night. I don't sleep much. I work a lot, and I did figure out that was one of the things I had over people growing up. On a farm is like you learn work ethic. My dad's a coal miner. Seen him like nearly die so many times. Never take a day off of work, and that work ethic just kind of was built into me. So I just outworked everybody. I was never the smartest person, but I felt like I could always work harder than other people and figure it out given enough time. And so ended up running software development for a local company here in Birmingham. Worked my way up there. That was awesome. Learned a lot. We did YMCA software, so was introduced to the fitness software industry there, which was great. And then I met my co-founder from my previous company there. He and I started a company in 2013 and we built that company up. It's a software company. We built that up and sold that. That was a great journey. That's a whole story in itself. But in doing that, like I learned I'm an entrepreneur. I love building things. I love building software. I love building companies. My role is always in the background generally. Like I'm more of a COO person. I love building teams. I love working with people and helping them reach their potential. And after that, I was kind of bored looking for something to do. And along the way, I found CrossFit in like 2016 and I was doing CrossFit. It helped me just kind of rekindle that passion as an athlete, have an outlet for competition. I was 30, I think it was 39 when we sold the company. And I was going into the 40 division. I was like, well, I've got some time and I really like to do more CrossFit stuff. So let me figure out, I'd never done a competition or anything, but it looked fun. And so I started doing some research, figured out there was this master's division, and I found Jason and his YouTube channel. I think at the time he had like maybe a couple hundred followers. It was very early, and I reached out to him and I was like, "Hey, I'd like to learn more about doing this. If you want to meet up, maybe we could you could train me. We could figure out what that looked like." And he was like, "I'm actually going to be in Birmingham, head through." So we met up and started talking and just connected. Like right away, we could tell that we're going to work really well together. And Jason's got that outward facing persona and I've got the inward facing. I can build teams, I can build companies, but I don't like doing all the external stuff. He's really good at that. He understands that really well. And he also knows the CrossFit space. I mean, I think he had won the games like 3 times at that point, I think. So obviously he knew the CrossFit industry really well, but the goal was like, I had done, so I went and did a competition at a local place in Atlanta, first competition ever, and it was Legends Championship. I was a qualifier, and it was so much fun. I mean, I just had such a good time. The Masters community was so great, and I fell even more in love with it. And Jason and I started talking. We were like, we need to take the Masters community to the next level, put Boulder athletes together, figured out what that would look like. And, I made some investment there. So behind the scenes, if you see me, I'm just sort of the guy who helps keep everything running. I'm the tech guy, so I'm going to always be pushing technology into Boulder athlete and making sure that we are generally, I want to see us as the most technologically friendly software, also in with masters and fitness. We're not there yet. We got a long ways to go. But it's some stuff we're working on, and I think there's a lot of room but that's just kind of where I fit in. And you'll see me putting boots on people at competitions. I was joking with my wife. I was like, I went from running a high level software company, with all these employees and stuff, to putting boots on people. And I'm having just as much fun putting Normatec boots on athletes that are in between competitions, because I know we're helping them get ready for the next thing right now. Yeah, and one day I'd love to compete, but right now I'm just not in that part of my journey. My wife, I'm giving some time back to my family. I took a lot from them to build that company over 10 years. Building a company is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. It takes a lot from you, from your family if you're doing it, and it's a lot of sacrifices. And so when I was done, I told my wife, I'm going to give some time back to you and my kids. And so we're traveling, we're spending time together. And then CrossFit fits into that. A athlete fits into that. And it's not the reason I exist anymore, So one day I'd like to compete. Maybe when I hit the 45 division, or 43 right now. So maybe in a couple of years I can get ready for that.
Adam, let me just say, thank you a ton for sharing that. I know this is, even being on camera is probably not the most comfortable thing for you, but you have such an incredible intersection of humility, intelligence, this area of expertise in your tech wizardry, a love for CrossFit, a love for people. You're totally selfless. All of those things are such critical assets to, I think, the friendships that we have amongst this group, the ability to build Boulder in a way that's really high integrity, and we're truly doing it in a way that puts the community first. And then man, because you have such tech wizardry, the fact that we're going to really push in some innovative areas, I am so excited about. And as is Jason and Aaron, the opportunity is really, I think, much larger for us as a team and as a company because of some of the great expertise that you bring. So, man, and I'm just so grateful for your friendship as well. It's been awesome to get to know you better and be just a part of this team. So thanks for sharing all that.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it.
Aaron, before you take the mic and get into your story, which, by the way, you have an incredible story and it's super inspiring. And I
Oh,
remember when I
stop it.
first heard it, my jaw kind of hit the floor because I did not know that. And so you and I have been talking for a while about making time to just do a deep dive on your story, actually. So we might not go so deep here, but we definitely need to hit a good level of depth because our audience and our community needs to better understand what you've been through. Before I pass that to you, Aaron, Jason, anything you want to share on top of Adam's story and background?
I mean, it's been an amazing journey getting to know Adam, and the serendipity of the timing when he reached out. I mean, Boulder wouldn't exist if he didn't reach out exactly when he did. And I was going to happen to be in Birmingham 3 weeks later. And, he's the type of person that says, yeah, I'd love to meet. I know you've got your family with you. I'll tell you what, my family will come. We'll meet at the museum. Your family can have a museum tour and you and I can talk. That's the kind of precision Adam has at being intentional about creating a relationship. And so we sat down and without taking a breath, we talked for 3 hours. It was like that. And I remember, driving back to our campsite. We were in our RV at the time, telling Gina, like, wow, I think we have something here. I don't know. I just had this feeling like this was an intentionally powerful meeting, and I'm really curious to see where this could go. And Adam and actually I was talking with Aaron at the time as well. So these two dudes here, Boulder doesn't exist without the conversations that happened because these two reached out to me. And so really amazing and grateful that all of that came together. But it is really interesting and really fun to think that, Adam reached out to me, almost out of the dark. Aaron reached out to me out of, via YouTube comments, and all of that built into, what we have now. And that's what I'll say at this point.
Yeah, this is turning into an emotional roller coaster for me right here as we reflect on this stuff.
Take it away, man. Ride the coaster.
Yeah, well, gosh, I mean, you wanted some hammers dropped, I guess. I met Jason asking some questions on YouTube, but basically it was because I was coming back from cancer a second time. I had cancer shortly after I got married in 2006. Yeah, so I got married in May of 2006. So 20th anniversary coming up here. I know I look like a young buck at times, but yep, 42. And so a few months into getting married, had cancer, a little bump in the road. It was testicular cancer. It, had some lymphatic and vascular invasion. They said, we think we can get it all through some surgery. So they took, we don't have kids that listen to this or whatever. They took my left testicle and some lymph nodes in my inguinal canal, and then 23 lymph nodes along my back, along my aorta and vena cava. So there's your lymph nodes kind of arch over here, and they took this big like candy cane shape, and there were some infected in my abdomen as well. So what that looks like, a retroperitoneal lymph node dissection, if you want to look that up, they basically take out all your insides and they scrape out all this stuff along your back, all the lymph nodes, and put you back together. And I was 22, and they, pat me on the back, and I leave, and I thought that was it. I grew up playing basketball and baseball and soccer and football and all that kind of fun stuff. And the thing that I loved the most was basketball. So that was just kind of my whole thing until I got to college, joined the rowing team, got a gold medal on the rowing team. So he's not the only one on the call with gold medals. I have one gold medal in the men's varsity 4. And that's where I met my wife.
Know that.
So yeah, I was on the rowing team. That was kind of fun. So I'm a rowing specialist in the CrossFit gym. My failure as a basketball athlete was lifting weights. So I never really got strong, which is something I've started to dig into as I've become a CrossFit athlete. And that's been really cool. But how I got there was the fact that the cancer came back about 10 years later when I was 32. This was in 2016. I was having back pain the entire year of 2016, and like the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. I had a tumor the size of a softball amongst a bunch of others, but one in particular that was growing on my spine where those lymph nodes were. Apparently we didn't get it all. What's crazy about all that is because It's such a fast growing cancer that if it recurs, it comes back in about 2 years. This was 10 years later. The doctors had only heard of about 80 cases in the world where this had ever happened. And so that was kind of interesting and confusing, but luckily it was the same type. I don't want to get too deep into it, but almost died a bunch of times through that. Wanted to not be alive a few times through that, and thankfully I didn't. Make that decision. My wife was right there calling me on my crap whenever I talked like that. Unbelievably thankful for her, being by my side at that point. So made it through all that. And then it was like a year and a half, maybe 2 years before I could run again. My body, through the chemo and surgeries and all that kind of stuff, I couldn't even run. I went from my heart rate would spike to almost max heart rate just walking to my front door, to about 2 years later, I could finally run for like 5 minutes on a treadmill. And I remember I was in Australia on a business trip, and how I was flying all over the world when I was in such poor health was insane. But I remember like breaking down on this treadmill and crying and just like, I can't believe I finally ran for 5 minutes. It's unreal. And I'm in this hotel room gym that's like the size of my car. It's like a couple treadmills and a bench or whatever. And I'm just alone. And it was probably like 2 a.m. because the timing was all weird. And I'm just like crying because I was able to run. It was insane. One of the guys that worked for me there, who lives in Ireland, who just signed up for Boulder Affiliate, Steve Hagerty, he was like, "Hey, dude, I think you should try CrossFit. I think you would love it." And he knows me. I'm a competitive dude, and he believes in the CrossFit methodology. And I fell in love with it instantly. I've been coaching for 3-4 years, about 4 years now. But through that process of going from when I was able to run again to Steve saying, "Hey, you should try CrossFit again." If you go and Google anything, and I guess, you're my age, you're our demographic, and you're like, how do I do this? You're going to get Jason Grubb, right? That's what YouTube's going to feed you. And so I was constantly getting Jason teaching me and coaching me, and his willingness to invest time and to give me things that helped kept me coming back. And then I was just noticing through all that, I didn't even touch on my career. It was 20 years of technology. That's what I was doing at the time, data center tech. But through those engagements with Jason, I was invested in his vision and buying into what he wanted to do and invest in a community and help people and build all this. And so, I would see little things here and there, and I'm like, "Hey, why don't you try this? Why don't you do this? Or what happens if you do this?" And he's like, "Dude, that's a great idea." So then we started on I can't even remember. It wasn't Marco Polo. What app was that, Jason? Do you remember?
It was Foxer, but it's the same thing as Marco Polo, a video messaging app.
Yes. Yeah. So we moved off of YouTube comments, and we're just going back and forth talking like daily. I'm trying to help him grow his business, and he's helping me go from zero to not zero in terms of CrossFit. And then, I was just like on fire for this vision of what, Jason had and what he was presenting. And I just started doing stupid stuff. I was like, I'm going to take my family. We're going to fly out to Wadapalooza and go watch Jason compete. It was incredible. It was cool. And then we got back home and I had an RV. I'm like, I'm going to take a week off work and I'm just going to drive to Louisiana. I live in Dallas. I'm going to drive to Louisiana, spend a week just working out with Jason and getting my ass handed to me. And it was incredible. It was a learning experience. So, and all that just kind of snowballed. And then I went to the games and I met Adam there. And, I don't know. Guide me from there. What am I leaving out? But that's kind of how it all got started. That's a little bit of my history. I've got 4 daughters. I put the tech, career, that data center stuff in the background. And now I just, we have one life, and I want to invest it in a community of people rather than, writing technical documents for people I don't know. I just want a richer experience in all of this. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Aaron, you just shared stuff I did not know about you. I mean, I knew some of your story. I thought I knew a fair enough, but that's crazy. So thank you for sharing that. And I hope that people that are listening are like, holy cow, have some greater appreciation for that journey. And I'm sure some within our community have experienced a journey similar. And I want to hear those stories of inspiration as well. The thing that's coming to mind for me, which this is the first time actually that I've thought about this, is the perspective that this group has is unique in that, like, Aaron, you're literally on death's doorstep and fighting for your life. And you want to talk about a set of circumstances that'll give you a perspective on a whole lot. That's it. So you think very strategically about where you're going to invest your time after you've kind of been given the green light on life again. It's like, well, where am I going to spend it? The fact that you've made the choice to spend it in this way with this group, building community, that is so powerful. That's a light bulb moment that I just had. Adam, your perspective on, working yourself to the bone to build a business and then the ability to sell that business and change your life. It changes the life for you and your family. And then you get to decide, what do I want to spend my time on? Where do I want to spend, my areas of expertise? What do I want to grow again? Because you don't have to, but you made the choice to invest here. That's really interesting perspective. I mean, like Jason, you could be doing anything, you could be doing anything you want. You happen to be really good at fitness, thank goodness. And we all benefit from that. But, this is where you've decided to invest. And man, that's a first moment that I've connected those dots. And so now as I'm thinking about how that shapes the way that we approach our community and the way that we approach building this business, it makes so much sense. This group, which by the way, team, for those that know these guys well, and I'm so grateful that I've had the chance to do that, just the greatest guys, super humble, super selfless, super honest, very high integrity, people that you want to spend time with because you feel like the version of yourself gets a little bit better the more time you spend with good people. And so the fact that I get to hang with you guys and we get to be on this mission together, it's just the coolest thing. So that's a sincere thank you for me to you guys. I'll stop for a second. Any other thoughts? I'm going to pile on that.
I think that's really, I guess I hadn't thought about it that way, Josh, but that's, I hope that shows through in the outward persona of Boulder Athlete is the authenticity side, because we're all authentic in what we're doing here. Like we don't have, I don't have to do this. Aaron doesn't have to. Aaron just left a very lucrative high level job at a very good company. I could have went and done another software company and had another giant exit. There's things we could be doing if we just were chasing money, career, status, right? But I don't care about any of that. Like we do this because we love it. Like I love the CrossFit community. I love the Masters community. It's fun. Like we were in Europe. We were there for 2 months and we were fixing to leave. And I remember telling my wife, I was like, I'm just glad I don't have to go back to work when we get back. Like I get to go back. And she's like, well, as soon as we get back, we've got to go to the Legends Championship. Like we've got to fly out to, Arizona. And that's going to be a work. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess that is technically work, but it didn't feel like it. I was excited to go out there and meet all of our athletes and see them compete. We were sponsoring the championship this year, which was amazing. Like just for us to have the opportunity to do that, for me doing a qualifier in 3 years to now Boulder Athlete is the title sponsor. And we're able to help put this competition on for athletes that, want to come compete and showcase the skills and things they've been doing. Like it's fun. Like that, I guess that's what makes it all worth it, right? Like we're doing this because we love it, not because we have to. And I think that goes for everybody on this call, right? Like we're doing this because we want to. Like it's President's Day right now and we could be out doing other stuff, but we're sitting here on this call having fun talking about CrossFit with each other. So.
Yeah, well said, man.
All right, fellas. So let me say thank you again for sharing that and giving some more background into who you are and how this came to be. And for those that are listening, whether you wanted to hear that or not, I hope you can at least appreciate it because these are good guys. And it's through these people that Boulder Athlete has come to life, and everything that we do is coming through this filter of these guys. So I want to shift gears a little bit now. Let's go into this top of mind section. And as I said in the beginning when I kicked this thing off, this is not all the things that we're thinking about and all the things that we're doing. And this is not a deep dive on our strategy as a business and all of that. But it is some things that we're kicking around at the moment that are topical, have come through our community of Boulder athletes. It's on the minds of them. Therefore, it's on our minds. And the first thing is just the Boulder athlete experience. I think, as a group, we've talked a lot about how do we continue to grow and grow the community by supporting the community? How do we grow the business and what does that look like? And just growth. And there's so many different flavors of growth, but it all comes back to if we do that, how does it impact our athletes? How does it impact the community? How does it shape the experience of the people that we're trying to help support? In my current day job, I think a lot about this customer experience. It's only natural for me to think about our customer experience here as well. You guys are very naturally wired to think about our customer experience. part of the experience that we're trying to shape right now is topical for me is the women of Boulder Athlete. Not to get too philosophical here, but if I think of just masters athletes in general, we're like masters are a little bit of the outlier in the broader CrossFit space. You've got your elites, that are kind of like the hero of CrossFit. Masters are like, oh yeah, masters are really cool. We felt that, which is why we want to invest in masters, make masters feel like as important as it should feel. But I think then even the women's masters, I think probably feel it to an even greater degree. And so it's top of mind for us is like, hey, we want to make sure that this particular demographic that's very important to our community feels seen, feels supported, feels heard, all the things. And so, how do we do that? And there's some ways that we're experimenting with right now, which is like a Boulder Athlete, just women's space. Like, let's invest and help and build some community there. We need to get some more women's apparel. Yeah, for sure. We need to have more ladies on the podcast, 100%. And thankfully, we've got some bold folks that are calling us out on it in a respectful way, which I totally appreciate. And so those are some things that, one, align to our investing in the experience, but two, very specifically, how do we support this demographic within our community that's really important to us? And those are some top of mind thoughts for me on experience. Anything from you guys?
Yeah, I think one of the things that makes us maybe slightly good at what we do is that we respond to feedback quickly. And I think that's one of the things I think we, all four of us, want to continue to be nimble. And when we receive feedback, oftentimes we'll just, discuss with each other quickly and take action. When there was, kind of a request could there be more of a women's space? Gosh, you whipped that together and launched it immediately. I mean, it was just something that was such a no-brainer and something that we could easily move on. I know you'll talk about, doing a monthly challenge. Someone suggested that. We talk about it for a little bit, like this is a great idea, and we launch it. There was even a time last year, Josh, when you and I were talking about creating a little bit more distinction and separation between the elite track and the compete track. And by the next week of training, we had already made tangible changes. And I think that's just something that is fun about being maybe in the field of startup mode. Adam's got more experience with this than I do, but I just love the idea that we can be this nimble and can take action on things quickly.
I could not agree with that more. That's very well said, Jason. I'm thinking about my previous experience with a previous program that I was following, and I was super loyal, so invested, been with the program for years. And when those moments to share feedback arose, we shared, and then it totally died. It went into the ether and nothing ever happened. And not only did nothing happen, the feedback was dismissed like instantaneously to the point where I was like, oh gosh, ouch. Like that kind of stung. That moment, in fact, really shaped how I thought about that program and my future with it. And so fast forward now to being here at part of Boulder, when we get feedback, you have to put it through the filter and say, is it feedback for feedback's sake? Is there something to this? Let's think about this really logically. How should we act? Could we act? You go through all the things, and sometimes the feedback passes through all the filters and you go, this is a good idea. We should do something about this. And sometimes it's just so low hanging fruit. You'd be silly not to do something. So I love the fact that we get feedback, and I would encourage our community to continue to provide it, do it respectfully, do it with realistic expectations that not every bit of feedback is going to get actioned, but keep sharing it, because the things that make sense for us as a community, we're probably going to kick the tires on.
We're always going to default to what we know, right? And we're four guys, so we're always going to default to the men's perspective first. So we have to make sure we create a space for the women to have a voice in that, right? And Josh, like you said, like, tell us, like, don't, and if we don't listen, like, hit us over the head. Like, you saw us arguing earlier, like, that's the kind of person we are. Like, we don't need stuff sugar coated. Just tell us where we suck and we'll improve, right? And we can't always do it overnight. Like Jason said, we want to be nimble, and we do have priorities, and we have so much bandwidth. It's just the four of us. But we'll get there. So I think that's really important.
I don't know. My head is so wrapped around tactically some of the things that we're working on. But I do really appreciate all of this feedback throughout. as we go along. I mean, just in my career, I'm maybe a little bit annoying in the level of feedback that I want. Like if I'm not engaged with my boss, if I'm not having a conversation with my boss, like, hey, am I delivering what you want? Am I, are we good? Am I above? Am I on target? Where, then I get a little bit like, what's going on? I like to have that, tactile, like, controller feedback of, am I hitting the target or not? So I love that from the community. Absolutely. And we have a lot of not shy people that do give us feedback, and it's great. So, I appreciate that. And just like with any feedback, they trained us, when I was in the VP program, was like, you just say, thanks, thanks for the feedback. And sometimes it's engaging feedback that you can be like, oh, okay, cool. Tell me more. Like, that sounds interesting. We could improve this area or whatever. Or sometimes it's stuff that you've heard that you have tried that won't work, and you can spend some time and say, yeah, we've been down that road, or we've talked about that. But sometimes there's just a groundswell of comments about this one particular thing, and it's a really cool thing to build a community that then cares about the community itself. It's like, these agents that help improve themselves. When we maybe talk about the AI stuff later on, you build a community that cares about the community, and they invest in the community, and they give feedback, and you just want to help drive it in that direction.
I want to keep you rolling here in spirit of like collecting feedback. Boulder Affiliates is something that you're super invested in. You're helping grow this, and it's such an important area of growth opportunity for us in several ways. One, as a business, yes, but two, to just help support more athletes. Like, man, what a great way to scale. You've gone to collect a bunch of feedback, and what are the requirements? What are the needs? You coach as well, and so you have firsthand experience with like trying to translate programming into the distribution method and model for a gym. And I've just been really impressed with all of the action that you've taken there. Do you want to talk a little bit about just kind of how things are going from the affiliate side?
Yeah, I mean, they're going really well. And again, this kind of sprung up. If you think about it, rewind the clock a little bit. We had individual athletes subscribe to Boulder Athlete who run gyms, coach gyms, and were on their own adapting our programming, right? Adapting Boulder Athlete to the gym to such a degree that it became obvious that we have to do this, right? And that's really what it was. It was feedback from the community. And so we've just continued to pay attention to that. We've fine-tuned, we've iterated very quickly. We officially launched it in, what was it, September of last year, August of last year. I think it was kind of in this stealth mode, maybe as far back as July of last year. And then we didn't even really, start talking about it until maybe October, November, December. I mean, I remember having a lot of pushback with Jason, like, dude, I'm ready, let's light this candle. And he's like, I'm just not sure yet. I don't know. I'm like, let's go, man. I'm like, I'm a fail fast kind of a guy, like stand it up. And if you're building a stool and it only had 2 legs, well, dang it. All right, let's put a 3rd leg on it. Right. And let's go. But I'm also the type of dude that's going to, and this isn't always great, but I'm going to be like, hey, everybody, I'm building a stool. Does anyone have any feedback? And they're going to be like, yeah, you only have 2 legs, dummy. So I like to build in the open. It's just kind of been my personality and my MO back from the data center tech world era, because I was always kind of on the forefront of what we were doing, right? Transitioning a world from, fiber channel storage area networks to software defined storage, and like waving that flag everywhere, right? Take all your stuff, let's move it over here, kind of a thing. So, and here's how we're doing it. But anyway, kind of a long-winded answer to say, affiliate is going really well in that when it's the right fit, because it's not going to be the right fit for everybody, but when it's the right fit for a gym, the results are phenomenal. The feedback is incredible. The athlete excitement and participation is real. The gym breathes new life. I don't know. It's really cool. It's been really neat to see. And I think you haven't done the interview with Tractus yet, have you?
No, I think
with Steven and Roar.
Yeah, I think it's Friday.
Okay. So I'll stop there. But you'll hear from those gentlemen over in Cork, Ireland. A lot of the feedback I've gotten that's like that has been from them and similar to other locations. So, but yeah, no, it's been great. In terms of the US, we're having, and its population density, we're seeing a lot of them in the Northeast. I would love to see more in Texas, more in Florida, more in California, more in the Northwest, more, but there's a high density in that kind of Northeast Atlantic coast area. And then we've got one in Portugal and somebody testing us out in Australia and, a couple in South America. It's really fun. It's cool.
It's a really exciting area of the business and the community to keep an eye on and support and just pour fuel into, because as I said before, like it just gives us such a bigger opportunity to support more people, to have more people attached to the Boulder Athlete and Boulder Affiliate Train and get to understand what we're about. And it's just such a cool growth area. And I'm thrilled that you're pushing on it. And Aaron, to double down on, like, literally when I think of you, I say Chief Action Officer. This is like what I have titled you in my mind, because you are so build in the open, push the pace. And, and I think we balance that in a really thoughtful way where you're like, because we've had moments as a leadership team where we're like, oh gosh, we probably should act as fast as Aaron is wanting to act. And then sometimes we're like, let's take 2 more beats and think about X and Z. And I don't know, it's a very healthy balance. And we need the push that you provide just as you need, some of the pausing that we provide. And I'm grateful that we have the wiring that we all do.
Yeah, no, me too. You're right. I'm the type of guy that, if we're going to move a couch from inside to outside, I just walk right up and I pick it up and we're just going to start moving it, rather than like when we get to the door, we're going to figure it out. Okay, now we go this way, right? I think there was a question around doing a Boulder, like a training camp, an experience weekend, something like that. Because of the density of affiliates, and I'm biased in that area because that's the area I'm pushing forward right now. Me and Jason, just kind of, in my mind, lots of focus on that. He carries like 97 plates or something, but that's one of the 2 big plates that I carry. We're looking at, there's a gentleman, Ian, Surfside. Again, just kind of building in the open. Stop me if this is inappropriate, but we're already having conversations of doing something on the coast in New Jersey, testing it out in probably September. I got to check with Jason's big calendar he's got on the wall. But probably September, October, what they call local summer there, I've learned. I've been driven through New Jersey once, but we're going to test it out this year. Super excited about it. We've got a lot of cool things we're thinking about doing. There's a beach there. We can get some kettlebells involved, inside, outside. I've already heard there's a chef that we can hire to bring in. It's kind of fun. And if that goes well, then I'm looking for, how do we do this in Europe? How do we do this in South America? How do we do this on the West Coast? So could be really cool. A nice way to bring both individuals and affiliate members together and just kind of have a cool time.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm excited to hear more about your investigations there and how that might come to life. Let's go ahead and pivot now into some of these questions that the community has shared. That was one of them. Would we ever consider doing this clinic? Let's actually build on that a little bit. Okay, so this question came from Christy Owasco. Christy, thank you for sharing this. Would Boulder Athlete ever consider a weekend clinic? So there you go, specifically from Christy. This has come up. We've talked about it. Aaron, you're clearly working on something right along those lines. I think maybe the thing that you're envisioning has a slightly different flavor to it. And then there's this, like, at least when I think of clinic, I'm thinking of a training camp kind of weekend, very similar to Power Monkey Fitness. And I think that was, Christy even referenced Power Monkey. Yeah, where you've got a bunch of, essentially professionals or experts in specific areas of movement that can help coach and train and just bring the Boulder Athlete community together so they feel like they get to upskill themselves just by being around a bunch of experts in these specific areas. I think this is a really cool idea. I've been to Power Monkey. Jason, you've been to it at least once, maybe more than that. It is a fantastic environment. Boy, you cannot help but walk away from there going, wow, I learned like 5 golden nugget nuances for the things that I do that if I can apply consistently, I'm going to become a better athlete. And so is there a way for us to replicate that to a certain degree? I think it's really interesting. I'll be honest, I don't think we have any plans on the calendar to do that right now, but is it on our list of things to consider? Yeah, for sure it is.
I was gonna we're gonna get our toes in the water in the Northeast with a weekend training camp, and I think it creates an opportunity. I mean, we're gonna do this in an affiliate, but I believe it'll be open to all athletes. We'll have details coming soon on this, but the idea of being able to work on some skills, being able to train together a bit, there's just something magical about the community when you get together like that as well. Aaron, you and I participated in maybe one or two trained with Jason. While I was traveling in my RV, I did a couple of these sort of weekend gatherings, and we didn't even have to do anything super special. Those were just like off the cuff type gatherings where it was just great to get together with other athletes and train together. And when we add just a little bit of the, with some organization around that and having our team all kind of be a part of this, even bringing in specialists to help us, I think that we will start slow, but I think that the desire for this and the feedback that we get on this has been frequent enough that we'll be leaning into this as we move into 2026, 2027 and beyond.
Yeah, that's exciting. I'm also thinking about the semifinals weekend that I think you guys hosted at Boulder Athlete or Pivot Fitness, or kind of like a taste of what that could be like, right? People coming together, obviously all of similar goals at that period of time. You're trying to do as well as you can in semifinals, but to have Boulder athletes around you supporting each other, obviously a lot of tips and tricks and best practices are all being shared in an effort to help people perform at their very best. Man, I had major FOMO. I was not there, and I certainly wish I was. That would have been so cool. But to do that with a little different scale, a little different structure, more intentional education and upskilling, I think it'd be super cool. Okay, so I think that's us addressing that question. Christy, thanks again for that. We've got another one on the list. This is totally a pivot. And by the way, these are in no particular order, but I just want to make sure that we address them, from Kyle Martindale, who asked about how Boulder is aligning ourselves to CrossFit HQ, which, to use Kyle's words, seems to be in a very difficult position over the next few years. I've noticed others in the market prepping for what appears to be a completely different landscape. Yeah, I think, Jason, you and I had a quick couple thoughts shared back and forth on this one. I'll tee it up, but I think, Jason, you're probably the most qualified to share your thoughts on this one. Adam, I'm interested to get your take on this as well. Not to leave your input out, Aaron. Sorry.
No, I have no opinion on this one. I think
sorry,
what Jason said, there's nothing I could add to it.
Oh, sorry. Here's my quick gut check on this is like, look, it's awesome when Boulder Athlete and CrossFit HQ align. I think philosophically and like from a values perspective, there's already strong alignment. And so the longer that relationship continues to be like symbiotic, like that's benefits for everybody. But we don't know what's going to happen with CrossFit or where that's going to go. And actually that's okay, because our wagon isn't completely hitched to CrossFit HQ. And so where we're going to continue to invest is in helping people achieve great levels of fitness and longevity. And like, do we need CrossFit to be able to invest in that? No. Does it help us? Yeah, I think, as I said, everybody wins. But look, we're going to continue to stick to our values. We're going to stick to our methods. And we're going to continue to invest in people that are invested in the Masters community and the Boulder Athlete community. And we want to see those folks not only achieve levels of fitness that they're excited about and maybe haven't achieved before, but can do that and sustain those levels of fitness over a really long period of time. So we don't need CrossFit to do that, but I think we're all rooting for CrossFit for sure. But yeah, that's my at least take on that question, Kyle. Thanks again for asking. Jason, what's your thoughts on that?
Josh, I cannot improve on that answer. That is, I can't even backfill anything that you missed. That is exactly, we share that some of the core values that CrossFit maintains. We think CrossFit, both as the philosophy of CrossFit and the sport of CrossFit, I think those will continue in the future, regardless of who they sell to. So, health, nutrition, longevity, high performance combined with longevity. These are the things we're about. Measurable metrics. CrossFit at its roots really is, like, what was your Fran time last year? What is it this year? Are you better? Are you stronger? Measurable results are something that CrossFit is about too. And we're into all of that. So it is at the core of what we do is the CrossFit philosophy. And, if they pivot, if they make big changes, I don't know if that's what their future looks like. We know who we are. And we want to see Masters athletes perform at a high level combined with longevity. That's what we're doing. Josh, you say it so eloquently. Again, I'm not backfilling anything you just said. Replay what you said, and that's what I would like to say too. It was great.
Appreciate it. Yeah, Adam, do you have any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think that the way I see it from the very beginning, Greg Glassman, when he built the CrossFit model, he meant for the affiliates to have their own flavor, right? To do their own thing. Like, I think he meant for it to be CrossFit as a brand will protect you, like we'll handle, you know, some basic marketing will be the promotion of the brand, but the execution and the culture, that should all be local to the gyms, right? The affiliates should have their own cultures. They should have their own things that make them special and unique. But as long as you keep CrossFit at the core, right? And I think that still holds up today. Like Boulder Athlete is, we know who we are. We know what makes us special and what makes us great, what makes our athletes great. And we're going to keep doing that, right? We don't need CrossFit to survive. Like we don't need their permission to be successful. But we want them to be successful because it makes it, the bigger their brand gets, as long as they continue keeping the core of what makes CrossFit great, keeping that and spreading that message, it helps more people, right? Gets more people off type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, all the things that we know are destroying this country and the world from a health perspective. CrossFit still is a solution for that, right? And so like the more we can help promote that, the better. So I'm rooting for CrossFit. I hope we continue to have a great relationship with them, and I hope they continue to do the things they needed to grow the brand and let us do the things that help us make our communities great. And as long as our cores don't misalign, we're fine. I can't say that will always be true. And if that ever starts to deviate, right? Like if that goes too far away, then yeah, I mean, maybe we just don't follow them in that direction, because I feel like what we're doing is great. We can always make it better, but like the core of what we do is kind of well defined and shouldn't change, right? It's one of those things that really, it shouldn't, it'll adapt slowly over time, but it shouldn't change drastically. Over the last year, it seems like CrossFit has been way more receptive to our feedback. I mean, getting them the age group semifinals in person was something. When we started that journey, everybody was like, that will never happen. They won't listen to you. You're crazy. And Micah, who's been a big proponent helping us get that done too, like they were great.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard all the terrible stories, but that was not the experience we had. Like Adrian and Dave and like the whole team over there seemed very receptive, and they answer our questions when we, they have stuff too, right? They have priorities, and I don't expect them to just drop what they're doing to respond to us, but I'm encouraged about the future.
I'm going to pivot to the next question. Thank you guys for your take on that. This is from Deb Curie. I'd love to know plans and directions for team scaled and longevity folks, given that's similarly tied to a conversation we were having just a second ago. How do we fit in here? How do we still be a part of the community without being competitive, especially if we're home gym athletes? Maybe it's more online connection through Zoom. So Deb, thanks for asking that question. I'll give my quick gut reaction to that, which is, look, in Boulder Athlete, there's a place for everybody, regardless of your level of competition. So everybody's welcome. That should be quite clear. And Deb, I think, and I hope that you feel that. But one of the things around this thing in particular that we're trying to do differently is the age group RX guidance that Jason infuses into the program, which is really smart and really slick, and it's really appropriate, and it's the right thing for our athletes to feel like you can hit that RX button, feel like you're doing it as prescribed, and you're not having to scale it just because you need to go a little bit lighter, or you need to reduce some reps or whatever. There's still a really appropriate level of volume for you, and you can compare yourself to others in the Boulder Athlete community based on that volume. So that's kind of maybe it's the first step in that direction. We have a scaled track. That track did not exist when we first started, and that was born out of a conversation that we had as a group. We're like, gosh, as we're evaluating our tracks, who do they apply to? And the thing that, bubbled out of that conversation was, we don't have something that's great for the scaled community at the moment that is just doing that on a daily basis. Let's build this scaled track. And so that's where that was born. Deb, I'd be curious, ping me offline if you're participating in that track, or if you are doing like the core or compete track and scaling from there. I'm curious what your experience is. I just kind of love to hear more about that. But while this is not a perfect maybe answer to your question, Deb, these are some of the things that we're considering on how we're trying to make the scaled community and, feel like there is a track and there is a place that we can build community, and that, there's a level of volume that's appropriately dialed in for you.
And just for
Hey,
a
I know
slight,
you came back for a second. Oh, go for it,
sorry.
Aaron.
Well, just you were talking a lot about the individual side of it. We also offer that in the affiliate tracks as well, or in the affiliate track. Whenever you launch it, if you subscribe to just the email Google Doc because you don't use an app, or you're using Beyond the Whiteboard or Wattify or SugarWatt or Push Press, you'll go in there and you'll see the two different ones, right? Which kind of corresponds to compete and elite and scaled, which we'll call the second one in there. It's usually notated as fitness, so just kind of like a general fitness plan. But both of them offer the RX for age groupers as well.
One of the things I
Sorry,
love about
Jason.
Deb is that she is a community organizer. This is just, no, I could have guessed who asked this question without without knowing who asked it. And I think what I am constantly trying to do to reinforce this answer with the programming is make sure that we're delivering the right workouts, the right stimulus for each age division in each track. And on the core and scale divisions, these are predominantly athletes that are looking to live long and prosper and may not have aspirations for a CrossFit Games podium. And that is totally fine. And I want to lean into, to Deb's question, to challenge myself to continually think about how I program for these tracks.
Oh, there it was official. We'll plug him back in.
I can speak to what I was going to say while he's.
Yeah, please do.
No, I love the question. I actually, I've been doing scale because I was in Europe for 2 months and like didn't really do much. We came back for holidays and like I'm in Orlando now. We have a house down here. And I'm working out like once a week trying to fit it in. And like, I looked at the compete track and normally, I'm doing the elite. I do the compete when I'm just like taking a break, and I can't even do compete right now. Like I'm looking at that and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I could do 3 ring muscle ups. So it's nice to be able to just open up scale, and it's like, 45 minutes to an hour of work that feels very doable, but yet challenged. Like I'm going to get a sweat in, I'm going to get a good workout in, and it's fine, right? Like I feel like it's pretty good. I'd be curious. So I'm curious, do people feel like the programming for scaled is good, right? That's one thing. I think it is based on what I've been doing, but I'd be curious to hear, Deb's feedback and others. But then to the community side, like, you should be able to go into the community and like find other like-minded scaled people, because Boulder Athlete is not all just competition. It's bigger than that, right? So I think that's the other piece. We've got to make sure our community is healthy for the scaled side. And then the culture side as well. Like you should not feel guilty being scaled, right? Like the culture should not be pressuring you to feel like you got to do elite, you got to do compete. It should be very welcoming to all the different fitness levels. And no, we want you to get better over time, right? But that could just mean be getting better at scaled. It doesn't mean you have to move into the compete track. You just get better at the scaled stuff. So I don't think you should feel any pressure to have to move through those tracks personally. But I'd be curious what Jason's philosophy is. But yeah, I think that's really the 3 things that I think we can do to support the scale community.
Like that. I can't help but think of, hey, we just started this Boulder women dedicated group where we can invest in the community there with a very dedicated demographic of folks within Boulder Athlete community. I can't help but think similarly about this. Is there a space for us to say, hey, like it's RX, and this is a group that wants to just connect with folks that are, or sorry, not RX, but scaled, but connect with folks that are just doing this scaled track. Because while they'll probably interact or see each other, bump into each other on the leaderboard if you're doing that scaled track, if you're on Beyond the Whiteboard right now, there's not a whole lot of interactive ability in the way that app is constructed. And so it would need to take place elsewhere. Circle would be the most obvious place for that to happen. And so does that further justify, I think we need to create a space, and then we'll just see organically, do folks gravitate towards it? Is there some interest in that? But I think, Deb, I appreciate the fact that you flagged this, because, hey, if there's a way that we can support the community a little bit better, then heck yeah, we're all for it. So
Yeah.
keep us honest. Let us know if that's something of interest.
Yeah. I mean, much like CrossFit kind of gave the gyms like, hey, you go create your own culture. Like you don't have to ask us for permission. I think we kind of want to create the same thing in our circle, in our community. Is like, if you see a need for a piece of the community to exist, go create it. And if you don't have access or something, let us know. We can help you set it up. But like, don't feel like we have to be the ones creating everything, right? Like, we want a very bottom up approach on this stuff. Like, this is the Boulder athlete community is the way I would like to think about it. We want to share this with the world and we want to grow it and want y'all to have input into it. And Deb is amazing. Like you said, Jason had said on the community side, like she's so good at that organizing side. So that's maybe something she's interested in taking on and running. I'd love to see that. And I too, like a quick story, on the scale. I don't know if you remember David Borgstrand's, interview, and I talked to him at the games too, but like his was so inspiring that he had injured himself and lost his passion for CrossFit and just was like, you know what, I got to do something to stay healthy. And he started back on the core. He started the Boulder Athlete Core and just worked through it and found his love for it again and accidentally qualified for quarterfinals, and was like, oh, okay, well, let me step up to the compete track. And then he qualified for semis and he's like, okay, well, now I can go elite. Right. But I thought that was a good story of like, if that scale did not exist for him, he might not have gotten back into it. He might have lost his love for it. So I do think it's a very important part of the fitness journey and it needs to exist for people.
That's such a good point. I'm reflecting on coming out of the games last year. I was on a high. I was as fit as I'd been, performed really well. And then on the backside of that high, there is a slump. And so I have to kind of dig myself out of that. And getting back into the elite track was not the way I was going to do it.
Yeah.
It's like I needed to have some wins. I needed to feel I'm building my confidence back. And for me, that was like, okay, I need to go back to compete and just have fun, rediscover the love, and then slowly get myself back on the elite track. And so I think the point that you're making, Adam, is a really good one. We have those tracks for a reason, and it can be a journey. It doesn't have to be. You can get into a track and fall in love with that and stay there. And that's absolutely, if that's the right thing for you, then more power to you. We will support that. But there is a scenario where you can build confidence in a single track, elevate to the next one, and just continue to go. If that is your aspiration, that's how those tracks are assembled. There's connective tissue between them that allows people to build from one into the next. So yeah, really good point.
Just the only thing I want to call out on that is consistency, right? Just showing up is huge, right? Like Adam was talking about, if he can make it into a gym and do scaled and sweat for 45 minutes and go through the motions and the movements and mobility and, that mind body connection for some of these demands, I guess, for the movements, it's infinitely better than just skipping that day. Right. So yeah, no pressure to stay on or in a track. But if I'm going to pressure anybody on anything, and I give it to my athletes that show up once a month, there's a lady in our class, she works for one of the hyperscalers, and her her schedule is just slammed all the time. I'm like, you have to tell them you get an hour to yourself for lunch. Come spend that with me, rather than showing up once every 3 weeks. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
So.
Consistency is king, no doubt about it. So on this track, we have another question. This came from Karen Rotondo and asking about who programs the tracks. Well, hey, guess who? Jason programs the tracks. He spends lots of time investing in all of those to ensure that they are connected and they build on each other. And there's, obvious similarities between them. And so they don't look like they're built in isolation. The connective tissue is very, very real. And so he invests a ton into that. So that answers your first part of your question, Karen. But the second part of your question is around, would we ever do like a rehab track or like an injury recovery type of track? My quick response to that is, one, it's interesting. And I'm going to steal from Jason because he's not here to say, we've lost Jason. He's not here to say it, but he made a really good point on this earlier today. My take was, look, injuries are so nuanced. They're just so incredibly nuanced. And so to build a track that would be widely appropriate for people going through injury, I don't know how you do that. Honestly, I don't know if that's even possible. Now, you could focus on a very specific injury and go deep on that and recovery there, but naturally that is probably not going to scale very well. And so I don't know if we would ever invest in injury rehab. However, this is Jason's point, so I'm going to credit him with this one, is really our investment is in injury prehab. We're trying to set people up to be durable and sustain their fitness in advance. And so injury doesn't become a thing. Now it does. Injuries happen to all of us. And so, in no way are we saying we're going to make you bulletproof through Boulder Athlete. Everybody deals with this. But if you go through the warm-ups appropriately, you follow the recipe appropriately, you do the things as prescribed, and you prioritize listening to your body and not fighting through stubbornly things that you should be avoiding, but you're doing anyway. You put all of that together and it should really improve your durability and your ability to sustain performance over a long period of time. And so I thought that was a great take from Jason on investing in prehab as opposed to rehab. And, I'll say this, that's not our area of qualification. You should be talking with a real expert and physical therapist, whoever you need to go see to make sure that you're getting the best possible care for whatever the nuances of your injury require.
But you hit it on the head, and that's why they have the gymnastic piece first, right? Warm up the body before the heavy lifts. And again, I'm gonna be that guy that says, Jason also programs for affiliates, and he also does this that same way and takes these same methodologies and these same lessons for the affiliate track as well. Sorry, Adam, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, I think that like Josh said, we're not probably the people that would program that, right? Because we're not physical therapists. We don't know. And every injury is so unique. And it's not even just every injury, but like everybody recovers differently I know I've torn both my biceps, and the recovery of each of those was different depending on where it tore and how the grade was. And then I had physical therapists telling me one thing, and then I was talking to one of the guys at the gym. He was like, I did this and it worked great for me. Something nobody told me, and it worked. Like, it helped a lot. So it's like, so I think maybe what we could do is create a space. I don't know if we have a space in Circle for this, where people could just talk about like, hey, I'm dealing with this thing. Has anybody else dealt with it? And again, this is not medical advice, but it's just, and we probably could have we probably already have some physical therapists and people like that have that background in our Circle group. Like, maybe there's some way we could help organize that a little bit better and promote that, where it could be like, well, it's not officially part of the Boulder Athlete programming, but it's part of the community. Maybe there's something there we could explore.
Yeah. One of the best parts of, this community and within the Circle group is people throwing out questions, and the amount of responses and engagement that it gets. You'll uncover somebody who's probably got some either very healthy perspective or maybe even some areas of expertise on that very thing. That's the easiest place to start, Adam, to your point, is like, if you've got questions about anything, throw it into the Circle community, because it's very diverse, and it's very engaging. And so I think you'll find some answers that are pretty close to the pin, if not spot on, just from the community.
Well, and I think too, like, one of the biggest parts of recovery, I feel like, is just motivation to recover. Because it can be so frustrating, you get to a point and then you get injured and it's like, oh, I got to start over again. And it's, without having your friends to help you get through that. Like, Josh, I think about Luke. I mean, he had to go through it a lot, and Aaron's having to go through it. Not Aaron Buley, Aaron Houchin. We've got friends that are going through these big rehabs. And it takes time, like 6 months to a year sometimes. And if you have friends that help keep you going and keep you accountable and like giving you motivation to want to recover, that helps a lot too. So maybe just, if nothing else, the support groups inside of Circle would help there. Cause I know how frustrating that can be. I've been through those big injuries that take years to recover, and it sucks.
Yeah. And doing it alone, man, brutal, really, really hard. I have found so much strength in the communities that I'm a part of. And it's impossible to quantify, but man, if I didn't have them pushing me and, having some camaraderie and calling me out on my stuff, it can become a really dark place, honestly. And so, yeah, I agree completely, Adam. That's a great call out. Last question, and then we're going to close this thing down, but it was on, are we ever going to consider doing some Boulder challenges? And so the answer is yes. And we have considered it. And this question, let me give a shout out to, Kyle Martindale. You asked a couple questions, so this was one of them. But yeah, we've been talking about it for quite some time. And, you know, we kept kicking the can down the road, and you asked your question. We're like, we got to just do this. So we dedicated a quick conversation as the group of us. Where do we want to start? Let's keep this low hanging fruit and just get it going to see how it goes. And so this month, Jason posted it just, you know, maybe 10 days ago or so. We're doing the unbroken double under challenge. There's also a single under challenge.
And who's in first place right now, Josh?
Well, see, we don't know because folks are doing this. They're already gaming.
I'm the only one that has shared a score.
Folks are gaming this. I know some scores, and I shall not reveal
I know,
those.
but they haven't shared it yet. I'm sitting in first place. Just let it be known. 5 double unders, unbroken. No, 70.
Okay.
Sorry, 70.
All right. Well, I something tells me that might get beaten, Aaron.
Well, I know it
within
will.
our community. But folks are gaming this, and so they're going to post it. You got to post your video. Like, we're going to try to make this legit, and this is fun. We'll do some fun little giveaways. In this case, we'll give away a t-shirt, but each month we'll announce something, and I have a feeling this can take on a life of its own, so we need to keep this thing on the rails.
I want to see people posting and like, here's my best with plenty of time for other people to beat it. Like, don't wait till the buzzer, you know, and then go try to beat them. Go back and forth. I think that's the spirit of it. So
yeah, maybe don't treat it like a true leaderboard. Just have fun with it.
Yeah.
Do you guys realize how conditioned we are?
I know that's
realize how long CrossFit has conditioned us to Price is Right, people.
Yes.
You got you by one at the last buzzer beater moment. Like, we're not going to change that conditioning, fellas. So I appreciate the request, but let's be honest here.
It's a great idea. Aaron, you hit a PR, right? That was a PR for you.
Yeah. I had never done 70 before.
What
was crazy about it is I had just finished like a 2.5-hour bike ride, went out in the garage, picked up my rope, and I think I PR'd the first one too with 59. I don't think I'd ever done more than 50 before because I'd never tried this. Second time was 70. And then I was too tired. I was like, I think I can do more, but I couldn't.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah, we're doing it. It's going to be cool. And and by the way, in addition to this, we're being conscious of like, hey, what are the athlete kind of types that will do well at a thing like double unders? How do we set up a different type of athlete to do well in this? And so we are going to be thoughtful about how this goes. The intent is to keep it fun, engaging, but we also want to keep it a high bar, you know, like we're going to keep the integrity high. You got to prove that you did it. We're going to hold you accountable to it.
Yeah. And I think too, like, it'll be good for people to remember, right? Like, cause they'll see scores that look insane, and you see, you know, I mean, we can do a lot of these, but remember, we all were where you were, right? We all started out just barely being able to get 5 double unders and like getting so frustrated because it hit our shins and like hit our neck, and like, you know, we've all been there, and then we finally get 20 unbroken and we're so excited. So like, don't be scared to post that you got 5 or 20. Like, if that's awesome. That's a good start. We've all been there. So I think that's back to Deb's scaled question. Like, we've all got to be encouraging to other people, knowing where they are in their fitness journey.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, fellas, we have covered a lot of ground here. This might officially be our longest podcast to date, but I'm glad that we did it. We got to get to know you guys better, or the community got to better get to know you guys, which I'm really grateful for your all transparency. We covered some questions that were submitted from the community. We talked a little bit about top of mind. I hope this was interesting for folks, because I would really love to do this again. For the community, let us know. Like, if you were into this, cool, let us know. If you weren't, then also let us know so we can steer the ship appropriately. But Adam, Aaron, and Jason's no longer with us, but thank you guys for making time today.